Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Yeah, we only have about 28 days left, 29 days left in this month, and we'll be starting a new year. And I know we're all looking forward to that, right? I think we've all had enough of 2024 and all of the stuff that has been going on. Um, it has been chilly here in Georgia, and I haven't been able to get much done on the Mustang projects. I was working today on a 2007 Dodge Durango. It has a antifreeze leak. I've worked on this vehicle several times doing different things, and I'm hoping that it is just a water pump gasket and not the timing cover gasket. One is a lot easier than the other. So if you ever dealt with one of those, it's a 5.7 liter Hemi Dodge Durango, and I've had it apart several times in the past, so I already know how things work and fit. But that's what I've been working on and trying to get taken care of. As you can probably hear, my voice is not the best. I have been fighting a head cold the last 4 or 5 days. It picked up over Thanksgiving and got a lot worse. And when you're like that, you just don't feel like doing much anyway. So I haven't really been pushing myself. Unfortunately, this vehicle is a friend of mine, and they asked me for help, so I offer to help them out with it. That's the good thing about people that you have done work for in the past. They trust you, and they want you to help take care of them. So I'm willing to do that. I did have to go. One of the odd things, if you look back here on the wheel horse, I had to rent one of those clutch fan removal tools, and I had made one of those years ago, and I don't know what I did with it. So I had to rent that thing, which is fine because they don't charge you anything on it. You can just rent those, and it's great. That's a great service that a lot of the auto parts stores offer, and I recommend that. If you're going to be doing a project on something and it calls out for some odd tool, just go rent one of those things and be done with it. But always check it out. Make sure it's got all the pieces in it and that it works properly. I've rented stuff before that all the threads were chewed out of it. Somebody had just butchered the thing and returned it back to them, said, "Here you go," and the apparently they didn't look at it and didn't know that the person had destroyed the rental tool. You've also probably seen the last video I did. It was on Jade, where I replaced those electric fans, and I'm very happy with that. That irritating vibration that was in the radiator and up in the front of the car is now gone. You can still sense that the fans are on, but you're not going to get away from that anyway. You can tell that in a modern car. You'll feel that those fans kick on, and you'll know that they're operating. So at this point, I have, I guess, officially put Jade up for sale, and I'm looking forward to somebody eventually taking ownership of it. I have other projects to do. I have the '69 Mustang to do. I've got the fangled '68 car to build. There's a lot of stuff that I need to do, and having a really nice looking car just sitting in my garage isn't really helping. So hopefully somebody is interested in that, at least in the next few months or something. But anyway, if you're new to my live stream, I do this on Monday nights at 7 o'clock, and the goal is to share information, talk about classic cars, and that ranges for me from about 1955 up until about probably 78, 79, 80, somewhere in that range. I have a lot of experience working on those types of cars over the years. My dad had a junkyard growing up, and so I grew up with all of those vehicles, and even some that are outside of that realm, just because. So I've been working on cars since I was basically like 8, 9 years old. So I have a lot of experience with all this stuff. But if you're new to my channel, I have a lot of videos primarily on Mustangs. I have some on Camaros. I have some on Chevelles. I have some on basic maintenance stuff, doing brake jobs and different things like that. So feel free to look at all the videos and watch all my videos. That always helps. But anyway, that's it for the introduction, I guess. And we're going to see who's here tonight. And the first one is Dave Tyson. So good evening, all. That's our first Dave sighting. So normally have about 3 or 4, even 5 Daves show up, or variations of Dave. So glad you're here. Terry Keithley, evening, Barry, and all. Snow is here. Boo. Please like and thumbs up for Barry. Thank you all, Betty, me, and the cats. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. And you can have all the snow. I don't want any of that, like, probably ever. Greg's Workshop is checking in from Australia. Hi, Barry. How are things going? They're going great, Craig. Glad you're here. I'm sure you're experiencing the summer months down under, so bit of a change from what we're going into right now. Rick Stevenson checking in. Evening. Glad you're here, Rick. And usually Rick is my first sign to take a sip of coffee. Out of my Steelers mug, as you may have seen, the Steelers beat the Cincinnati Bengals once again, so I'm happy about that. Dave Britton. Hi from snowy Ontario. A bit of storm coming on Wednesday. Yeah. Temperatures have been dropping here, as I mentioned. They're showing like tomorrow a low of 27, a high of 44. Wednesday a low of 24. Friday and Saturday lows of 22 and 24. That's pretty cold for Georgia. And so I can't even think about doing any paint work at this point. It's just not possible. I may have to switch gears and do something else before I can get back into doing paint work. So glad you're here, Dave. Travis Holtman, good evening, all. Evening, Travis, my #1 patron. Glad you're here. Hope all is well. Richard Vogel, good evening, Barry. I hope you're feeling better. Well, I'm feeling better, but my head is still congested. But I appreciate you. Thank you, Richard. It'll go away. It will. You know, the bad part, let's say about having a head cold or a sickness or an illness, is when we're healthy, we tend to forget about it. We don't realize just how lucky we are to not be sick, to not have some pain or illness. We just don't realize that, and so we don't show enough gratefulness, I guess, or appreciation for being in a healthy state. You know, when we're sick and we're struggling, we're like, I just want this to go away. But when we're healthy, it's like, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. I was sick back then. I'm not sick now. We don't even think about it. But you know, we need to enjoy those times where we're not sick. Steve Reed, hello, Barry and everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. It's snowing here in Paducah, Kentucky, and everyone needs to give a thumbs up for Barry. Thanks, Steve. And you can have all the snow. I don't want any snow. Robert in front of Craftsman. Evening, all. Evening, Robert. And Jerry is checking in. Howdy, Barry. Howdy, y'all, from Bakersfield, California. About to make Robert really mad and have some barbecue. Wait a minute. I don't know what it said. Though it did care for the place I'm getting it from. Okay. Anyway, happy car talk. Oh, Summit. Yeah. Yeah, Summit. We're going to have we can talk about Summit. Robert had an experience with Summit that was less than enjoyable. Hindsight 6-7, Roger. Greetings next door. Greetings, Raj. Glad you're here. Blind Luck Mechanic. Hope everybody's doing good and staying warm. Yes, too cold to paint, sadly, but not too cold to get a truck, though. Doing some weight reduction on this 98 Ford Ranger. Awesome. I'm trying to remember. Kevin, is that right? Is it Kevin? You have to remind me. I tend to get some of the names mixed up a little bit. Bob Shoemaker, evening all from cold Oklahoma, showing 27 for tonight, which is my granddaughter's high for the day in Anchorage. Well, glad to hear, Bob. That's 27 degrees. The weird part about it, we talk about these temperatures. We did a trip with some friends a few years ago. We went to Colorado, and it was an event for Mac Tools. My buddy is a Mac Tools distributor, so we got to go out there with them, spend a weekend, and there was a lot of snow. We went snowmobiling, but it really wasn't that bad. I don't know what it is in the South when it gets cold. It's like a damp cold. It just goes right through you. Other places in the country, I know growing up in Pennsylvania, we would have snow, and I'd be out in the snow wearing a sweatshirt and a T-shirt underneath, and going out and doing things. But here in Georgia or in the South, when it gets cold, it's like I don't even want to be outside. But yeah, 27 high for Anchorage. It's probably. I mean, I don't know what the norms are, but that's cold enough. Blind Luck Mechanic, it's my birthday month. I hope all of my friends and Santa get me car parts. Well, that would be nice. The bowler hat guy, David. Good evening, all. Hello, Barry. Hello, David. Glad you're here. Black GTX, greetings from Minnesota. It's cold here too. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it's cold in Minnesota. Glad you're here. Troy Justit, good evening, gang. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. I know I gained a few more pounds. I'll say this. My wife puts on a feast. She really does. For us, our 3 kids, our daughter-in-law, our one son's girlfriend, and the 2 grandkids, we all ate like kings. I mean, it was just fantastic. And the thing is, today I ate 2 Thanksgiving meals today for lunch and for dinner. I've already eaten turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes, and it's just good stuff. I can't say enough about how good a cook my wife is, and I appreciate her so much for that. And it is stuffing, by the way. We don't do dressing. We're not originally from Georgia. If you're from the South, they do dressing. If you're from the North, you do stuffing. So we always do stuffing. But yeah, it's easy to put on a few pounds. You're right, Troy. David Sweatman, hello from a very cold Indiana. Well, welcome, David. I think that's David number 3 or so, I think. Rick Stevenson, clear and 48 here in Jacksonville, Florida. That would be pleasant. Robert, 57 here in Texas, was a nice 63 today. That would have been very nice. Yeah, I hate being cold. I'll just say it. Lost 2-1. Hi, everyone. Hello, Lost 2-1. Steve Reed, 26 tonight here. Yeah, not good. Rusty is checking in. Rusty's Restoration. Hey, Barry, and all from snowy, cold southern Indiana. Hope all is well. Thumbs up. Thank you, Rusty. Dave Conville. Good evening, all. He's up from New Jersey. That's like at least a 4th Dave sighting. Jerry is checking in from the Money Pit in Middle Tennessee. Good evening, Jerry. Glad you're here. C&J Hoyt, were you around the grandkids? They get you sick all the time. Well, yeah, I was around the grandkids, but yeah, it's very possible they pass something on to me. Whoops. That's what they do in life, right? Share. Dawn's Manufacturing. Hello, everyone from Brisk PDX. Glad to hear Dawn. Hope all is well. Rick Gain. The majority of times when people ask questions in Facebook groups about Mustangs, I can always point them towards one of your videos. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate that. I try to do that as well. If I catch it and I see somebody asking a question or trying to resolve something, I do try to share that information too. But every chance you get to share something, I do appreciate it. Um, I get a notice that it says Joe Daddy's was mentioned in the comments, so that's always beneficial. Mr. Mikey is checking in. Howdy, boys and girls. Glad to be learning here. Awesome. Glad you're here. Simone is checking in. Hooked on Classics. Hi, Barry and all. Hope you are well. Thank you, Simone. She's over in the UK. Robert, well, you do live up north there in Georgia. Here in the real South, Texas, it's 50 to 60 and Sunday back up to 70. Yeah. Well, you'll pay for it in the summer. You'll pay for it more in the summer. Let's see. Rusty caught a movie yesterday, The Last American Hero, 1973 with Jeff Bridges and his 67 fastback Mustang. Pretty cool. Yeah, I guess I forgot about that. I may have to go check that out. Thank you, Rusty. Kevin, you got it, sir. Kevin, it is. Yes. Or Kevin is it. The one and only. Awesome. Shannon Vaughn, hope everyone from cold Southwest Virginia. Yeah. Yeah. Glad to hear, Shannon. I don't want any of that either. James Smothers, good evening. Been a while. Been away for a while. Health issues, but better now. That's good to hear. Glad you're here, James. Black GTX, Barry, do you follow any other Mustang sites on YouTube? That is a good question. Not much. I mean, I'll check out videos. I'll look at stuff. Robert posts something, I'll watch that. Whenever I can't think of his name right now, 68 Mustang Restoration, when he was doing all of his stuff, great information on his channel. I know he finished up the Mustang and he went on to work on the Cobra, redoing a Cobra, Wally. So 68 Mustang Restoration, I do follow them. I have seen some videos from, I think, Mr. Gone in 60 Seconds. And I just do that to realize there's other ways to do stuff. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just saying there's other ways to do stuff. And the guy puts out a really decent looking product. Can't say I would do the kind of work that he does, but it's at least at some point entertaining and or valuable to see some of the insights of others. There's probably just more random stuff that I look at as far as YouTube videos and stuff. I saw one pop up. I have no idea who the people are. Some young guy had a 67 fastback, and he was like being interviewed by somebody else. And they walked around the car, and they talked about it. It had some sort of, he said NASCAR-style exhaust on it, which it really wasn't NASCAR-style exhaust. It was just straight pipes coming out in front of the tires. But it was, cool to see because the car was more of a patina car, and I like that a lot. I think I would really like to have, or if I could find a right one, probably a 68. I wouldn't say a 69 necessarily, but something that has all the original panels, and the sun has faded it all off and made a cool looking, patina car. I like those a lot. I just think they're cool. But there's not a lot there's really nobody that I say I subscribe to. And generally I don't have enough time to get a look at other videos. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You're right. James pointed out Dawn's Manufactory. Yes. So if you haven't checked out Dawn's Manufactory, that is a great channel. Dawn does some great work on a lot of things. He built Betsy. And so, yeah, check out Dawn for sure. For sure. Okay. Jerry says, no, Barry, I pay for it in the hot summers, Robert becomes such a bear. Yeah, I'm sure. Let's see. Robert, the 3 months of the year we have decent weather, and Jerry says, no, it's 8 months. It's all a matter of perspective, I guess. Rick, somebody asked me how to put an Explorer axle onto the rear of a 66 the other day. I pointed them toward Robert's video. Yeah, see, there you go. That's beneficial. Robert, I only watch the creators, and I would say this small group. Otherwise, my interests are all over the place and not interested in really watching others' car channels. Yeah. Yeah, as James said, don't forget Don's Manufacturer. Yes. Steve Willett. Hey, nag. It's like, I know. Down here he says, hey, gang. Hey, nag. It's like, hey, Nat, right? That's funny. Glad you're here, Steve. Black GTX Jerry Heasley does a lot of Shelby content. I think you might appreciate it. I have seen and watched some of those videos that Jerry has put out. That's where I got information on the paint work, the red, the epoxy and stuff for the underside of the car and the interior of the car. There's another guy that I've watched. He's in Australia, and I don't know what his name is right now. He does restoration, like spot on restoration work of fastbacks, and really impressive with how he describes the paint process and showing the paint process. So I watch stuff like that for those kind of details, because again, I've said it before, I don't consider myself to be a great painter. So if I can get information that helps me in that realm, I'll look at it. But most of the time, if I see somebody doing sheet metal work or something, I'm probably better off almost not watching it, because I know that I'm going to get irritated. A lot of times I see somebody taking shortcuts or trying to do things that the metal can't do, or I just kind of like, I can't watch that. I can't watch that. It's painful. Rick, Pole Barn Garage on YouTube is storing a 68 coupe right now, doing a quite horrible job at doing just about everything wrong, though. Yeah, I don't even want to look. I don't want to look, because it's torture. It's torture. I try to do everything I can is to do it what I say is the right way. At least in my opinion, what I'm feeling is the right way. And I don't want to watch somebody hack up something. Dave Tyson, just look in the yard. LOL. Yeah. There you go. Evan from Evan's Messy Garage. Hey, all, better late than never. Been out of commission within my knee and house, but should get the Mustang out of storage soon. Okay, awesome. Yeah. I keep having all kinds of, my knees are popping all the time now. Greg's Workshop, Barry, got to go. Hope you all have a good night. Thank you, Greg. Glad you were here. Kevin says, I listened to the NASCAR exhaust Mustang video today. That thing screamed. 7,200 RPM 289. Liked it because he had all the 60s, 70s era go fast parts on it. Yeah. And I don't know if it was actually a 289 or not. I don't remember. I kind of skipped through it. But he did put a I don't know what you call it, the X-pipe exhaust, and then he added cutouts to put the straight pipes out the side. And then he had some sort of nice mufflers coming out the back, dropping off in front of the axle. And that's all cool. I mean, I got no problem with that. But I almost like, if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to add two different outlets, I'm going to buy one of those bypass kits. Just put the electric bypass valves in there, because he had to actually crawl underneath it, unbolt the plates, and bolt the pipes on. From what if I understood correctly, I would rather have those bypass valves that you can just direct the exhaust where you want it and not have to unbolt or change anything. But yeah, that car was screaming. It was pretty impressive. Christian Lennon, I need to learn welding. I bought a multi-process welder 6 years ago and haven't been able to do a decent weld. Do you offer workshops? What would Iron Man be interested? I can't say I offer workshops. You know, welding, it's really hard for me to explain welding, or how do I put it? See, when I learned to weld, I was a kid. I mean, literally, I learned to weld using a MIG, I mean, not a MIG, a Lincoln tombstone welder, the big 200 stick welder. I learned to weld just because. It was almost by default. And I make fun of it at times because I used to weld with my dad didn't have a helmet that had the headband thing on it. So you had to hold the helmet and learn to weld, with the stick. And so as years go by and I learned about MIG and all that sort of thing, I still, even now, I still find myself at times, if I don't force myself to use both hands to like guide where I want to weld, I'll find myself grabbing my helmet, even though it's on my head. I don't have to do anything with it. But that said, a lot of the stuff I learned, I don't know how to convey that into an easy, teachable method. There's a lot of stuff that I do that is, I can weld some super thin, rusty metal with a MIG. I can fill in a rusted out hole. I can do a lot of different things, but there's such a I don't know, finesse to it, like hearing it or seeing it, and just kind of adjusting on the fly. A lot of times I don't even mess with the dials much on the welder. I just kind of modify how I'm welding. So if you want to, there is a Roger? What's Jody's channel? I don't know if it'll help or not. Hey, this guy that used to work at Delta, he's got a huge channel, and he does welding, and it's but it's all mostly TIG. I don't know if he does much in the way of MIG welding. So, but if you were in Georgia, maybe I could show you something. Maybe, I don't know, but glad you're here anyway. I mean, I'd be happy to show you something if I could. Michael, Pagliarini, evening all from cold Rhode Island. The heater is on. Yeah, I'm sure. It's on here. It runs all day. James Smothers, I watch Fitzy Fabrications. Great metal fabrication work. Yes, he does do a good job. Oh, talking about the welding tips and tricks. So check out that channel if you need to learn something about welding. Like I said, he was an instructor at Delta, and he left Delta just to do videos. And apparently he's doing really, really well with his video content. Now, I don't know if he's, like I said, if he does any MIG stuff or not, but give him a look, and maybe that'll help you out. Thank you, Roger. Steve Willett, I've been trying to decide what I'm going to use for drivetrain. Thinking of using Scott's Hot Rods independent front suspension and buying a wrecked 2015 Mustang GT from Copart for engine and transmission. That seems like a reasonable choice. I'm not familiar with Scott's, independent front suspension. But a lot of people are going the route that you're thinking about with the Mustang. I mean, that's become pretty common at this point. And it's, I think we're working out the details on the 68 Fastback as far as what engine it's going to have as well. Dawn says, health first, Evan. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. We gotta take care of ourselves. James, I also like Alf's Mustang Garage. I don't think I've ever seen that. Like I said, I don't usually go looking. If something pops up and I happen to see it, I might watch it and go, okay, there's some good information. And even to that end, I will save certain videos, especially the paint videos. If I can learn something from one of those, or if I need some details, I'll save it and look at it later. Um, and then just that's what I do in general. Simone, I have been thinking about getting back to work after the college welding course. I'm going to look into self-employment possibly. Okay, you're going to do welding work because people always need welders. Yeah, back to Roger welding tips and tricks, and Robert confirms that. Says, "Yep, that's it." Steve, I learned as a kid too. My dad had a Craftsman 220 arc and oxyacetylene. Yeah, we never did. And we had, you know, torches, but I never did any welding with that. But the big Lincoln tombstone welder, as it was called, that's all I ever learned to weld with. And I mean, I was pretty good with it. But the MIG is just like magic. Don says welding tips and tricks. Yes, thank you, Don. Evan, definitely rehab is going well, except some videos of, I guess expect maybe, not accept. Expect some videos of crappy woodworking soon. Okay. Kevin, give AJE a look before deciding on the Scott's independent front suspension. So there's a shout out to AJE from Kevin for Steve. So maybe have a look at that. Rick, Alf's took a 66 T code fastback and put a 289 in it. Nice job, but destroyed an original rear car. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. I mean, they're only that way once, especially a fastback, even though it's a 6 cylinder. Yeah, I couldn't have done that. Could not have done that. Some of the jobs I have seen are mostly factory work. I don't think that's for me. Okay. Yeah, I don't advertise to anybody like at all that I do welding. But if I have friends, they may end up with something with a mower deck or something on a trailer that needs welded on or something like that. And those kind of things I like. That's just easy work to me. Um, but I haven't advertised. I don't advertise at all because I don't usually try to get people to come to my place. I have enough going on here. Robert, Trev's blog channel on YouTube is an excellent source for sheet metal working and has a good starter welding videos. He used to do the high-end restros with basically no filler needed. Yeah. Yeah, I watched the guy, Cornfield Customs. I follow him on Facebook and I think on Instagram. And now he's putting out some videos. And I will say, there are some true artists out there. Now, I'm pretty decent with sheet metal. I can, putting quarters on or patching up stuff is pretty common. But if you're the kind of metal artist, like this guy sectioned in the back part of the quarter panels on a 67 or 8 fastback. Like he just did the back 12 inches. Seamless. I mean, it was just incredible. Knowing that he had welded all that up and then his plenishing hammers and all this stuff that he did, you could not see. I mean, you could see it because there was, some slight discoloration, but it was smooth. I mean, it was almost like high build primer would have taken care of any flaws that were there. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Steve is saying dyslexics online tonight. uh, Richard, which Arc Captain MIG welder are you using? It's the MIG 200 is what I have currently on my setup. So, I've been contacted also again by Yes Welder. They wanted me to do another review of their latest welder, and I just haven't done it. I'm okay with. I have multiple machines now, as you all know. I've got the Yes Welders, which are good machines. I've got the Arc Captain. I've got my Lincoln 140T that is still operational. So, yeah. But the Arc Captain 200 is what I'm using right now, and it's still doing a fine job. So I don't have any problem with that. Let you text if you can weld, people will find you. Yes, this is very true. Yeah, there's been plenty of opportunities where somebody has contacted me. Like if you looked at my other channel, Joe Daddy's Workshop, I've posted videos on there where I've built stuff out of steel and just welded stuff together. I made some deer feeder stands for a buddy of mine. He had brought me some fallen apart metal stands, and I just kind of replicated them and improved the design a little bit. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there that people want done, but I just don't. I don't advertise myself for that. James Alf mentioned it being an original 6-cylinder car, but says it's what the customer wants. He'd rather do a proper conversion than have a hack destroy it. Customer always gets what they want. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I get it. I don't know if I would agree. I would have a hard time doing that though, myself. I guess I haven't seen the video. I don't know anything about it. But I see the point. If you're gonna do it, you can do it right and make it the way it should be. So I get that. Rick Gain, a friend wants me to weld on his push behind leaf blower. Problem is, I'm not a good welder. May try though. What the heck? Yeah. Well, I mean, just try. Just try. Steve Willett, I've looked at AJE. Looks like they require the shock towers, which I won't have. Yeah, I think Kevin put in like a modified shock tower. If on his channel, Blind Luck Mechanic, the towers he put in are really, I mean, they're flat. You had so much room between what would have been the shock towers. So I don't know, I've not looked at them other than seeing them on his channel. Dave Tyson, cornfield is great. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Simone, the thing for me is after the welding, I know a little about fillers and bodywork. Well, I've got all that on my channel. All that. All that stuff is there. I did a video on, it was a Nissan something, where bodywork tips and tricks or something like that. And that was one of my better videos for views and all that sort of thing. But I try to go into detail on that one because even though everybody points out, just replace the fender. The video was not about replacing the fender. The video is how to shape the fender, how to make the lines appear. I learned a long time ago in doing collision work, a lot of people try to do, like if you have complex multiple angles, people will try to do all that at one shot. They'll like try to shape it. They'll try to make a block or something to make that, look that shape. And you can't do that. You have to work each plane individually. So if you have a light angle here and this angle here, you work this angle first and get the radius correct, the shape of that radius correct, and then you work the flat surface or next angle back against that, and then you can see the line that creates naturally with that being built back up. And then the trick is to get your hand to make the radius, the little radius where those two transition together. Some of these modern cars, they have such just crazy angles going all different directions. It's like Bodyman's nightmare when it comes down to it. But a lot of these things, you can break it down to a plane. You know, this surface, whatever, and just work each one of those individually. So, anyway, Troy, I'm not a good welder, but people see me welding in my garage and stop to ask if I'll do some welding for them. Well, yeah, I get that. I have not had that issue. Most of the time, I have my garage door shut, but the nobody comes down our street anyway, so it's beneficial that way. David Swetman, Carter Auto Restyling has a interesting channel. Okay, thank you, David. Don's Manufactory. I would have. Oh wait, I did do that. T code to 302. Yeah, I think the real thing on that other one though was it was a fastback. So kind of odd to find a fastback with a 6-cylinder in it. James, I really enjoy my Lincoln Electric MIG 180. Barry was the first one to weld with it. Yeah, that is a nice welder. I agree. I did enjoy welding with that. Harvey is checking in. Rally Cat Garage. Hello, Barry. Happy Monday. Late arriving again, but here at last. Well, glad you're here, Harvey. Steve Reed. I finally got my Snap-on 120 MIG going again. Okay. That's a plus. You know, we had an old Snap-on welder at the body shop. It was a neat setup because it was like all built onto like a tall cart. Like the welder was on top. It was all Snap-on, the whole thing. So it had the welder up on top, had storage in the front going down, and then the bottle in the back. And that thing was a really nice design. I think it broke down on us at least once, and I don't remember what the fix was, but we had to have it fixed one time. But it was pretty nice welder. I will say that. Simone, my friend on Alex's Assets channel, learned to weld on her classic 70s Rover. She's pretty good at it. Okay, that's cool. Nice. Michael, I was taught how to weld by the Department of Defense 30 years ago, and I am still learning new tricks. Self-learning how to TIG, not coming, I'm guessing, easy rather than early. Yeah, it's tough to do TIG welding. I did it when I was in A&P school, and it worked out. You know, I was able, and I also took a welding course from a local community college type place, and was doing TIG there and all kinds of stuff. But it was good. But I don't do it enough now to be comfortable doing it, I guess. Rick says, problem folks like Kevin and I run into is knowing how to do something but can't see well enough to do it properly and or safely. Sometimes it's worth the risk, though. Yeah. Randy Bayless, Barry, I love your channel, but have you ever watched Carthage Classic Cars? He does frame jigs and body rebuilds. Awesome channel. Definitely worth a look. No Mustangs. Thank you, Randy. And no, I have not. I may have to take a look at that. Simone, my Hitbox 200 amp is a great welder. Gives me good confidence. Good. And Steve Reese said that's the way mine is. Yeah, I really like that setup with the Snap-on. I really did. Robert, the issue with the inverter MIGs is they aren't set up too well on thin steel. Many don't start up the arc very well and take too long to stabilize. Transformer welders are always ready to go. That's true. And Steve says Carthage does a lot of Mopar. Okay. All right. I'm going to bring up something that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. And just for your memories, I'm going to show you this car here again, just to remind you how bad that color is. That was that's the color on what's supposed to be on my '69 Mustang. I'm just telling you that's not going to be it. That color is called New Lime, and it ain't going to happen. I'm going to upload some pictures here because Jerry has been working on his '65 Mustang, and he has elected, after some conversation with me, to replace both front frame rails. The car had been wrecked before he got it, and it definitely had issues going on. He could not get the front end to line up, and so he finally came to the conclusion that we did, as in talking about it, that he needs to replace the front frame rails. So he sent me these pictures today. I'm going to show you this. This is what appears to be the driver's side frame rail. I don't know how well you can see it or not. The pocket where the frame rail sits in the floor support. And then I have this picture showing the assembled apron and the firewall and some gaps thereof. Now, the challenge, of course, is as Jerry's doing this, and he asked me to kind of talk about this, you can see there's a gap at the bottom of the floor support, or between the floor support and the frame rail. Okay, so I wanted to kind of address this some. I had done the Brooklyn Pony car, and I had used an original '66 Mustang, and I used a piece of 1 square tubing to verify the height of the frame rail versus the bottom of the floor pan, or bottom of the floor support. And I replicated that on the Brooklyn Pony car. Now, I know that Jerry is running into conflict here, and he bought pre-assembled shock towers and everything. And you would assume, as I would assume, that they're built correctly. So I'm not going to argue with that. Now, his concern is whenever it's in the frame rail pocket or the floor support, the gap at the bottom, right? And what I wanted to stress to Jerry, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit. Anytime I put something together, and I mean anytime, not only do I mock it into place and try to get the index right as to how it's supposed to fit, but I also put the exterior sheet metal on. So in this case, what I want you to do, Jerry, if you're going to, if you're worried about the gap at the bottom of the floor support and the frame rail, that's not really the concern. Because if you try to adjust that to make it fit perfect, you may end up with a problem in the front. So the whole problem with this setup is, as we talked about it, his car was hit and everything was pushed to one side. And so the frame rails were all screwed up. So with these new frame rails, and if you use the core support as your square to help things square things up, what I want to do, if I were to put all that together and put it in the floor support up against the firewall, I want to put the fender on. And I want to see how the fender fits the body line to the door. If the fender is sitting low and the bottom of the fender's going back against the door, something's not right, you know. And I stress this, that while it is important to get your measurements as accurate as you can, those measurements don't really matter if you can't put the fender on the car, or if you can't, line things up. So I want you to put it together, hang the fenders. If you have to pre-build everything to look at it, do it. Bolt the fenders on, put the hood on, get everything in place, and then that's going to help you justify your fore and aft. It'll justify your pitch. It'll help all that come into play. As long as the rest of the car is level and square, that's all you can really go by. A car that's been previously damaged, unless it's been completely cut apart and all new pieces put in, like I did with the Cobra Jet, I already knew where those pieces were going to end up because I built the jig system. But whenever you have something like when I did the Brooklyn Pony, I had nothing. I had a body cart that I set that thing on, and then I tweaked everything in place, measuring as much as I could, but verifying that the fenders fit the car, and then everything else. So just try to look at it that way. I know you're worried about these gaps and different things, but if a gap is going to be there, I would rather have the gap underneath the car than have the front end sitting too high or too low in comparison. So try to go down that road, and then let me know how it's going. So, okay. Moving on. James, I saw a professional spot welder that is suspended from a cable and balance arm with all types of tips and extensions. If I had 10,000, I would spot weld my Mustang. It was on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, I've seen those as well, and I would definitely take one of those if somebody wanted to sponsor me. Yeah, those are really, really nice to have. But I don't have $10,000. Simone, I would love to get a spot welder, but they draw a lot of power. Yeah, that is true. Black GTX, that color is as ugly as it was last week. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm really disappointed that. Yeah. So probably 99% chance it's going to be this color. I'll do new lime. It'll still have lime in the name, but I'll do the lime gold, I think is what they called that one. I like that a lot better. So does my wife. Yeah, that was just not a good color. David, the new lime is not a good color, no. And Rusty says, not digging it. Yep. Dave Tyson, I have a 2500 Snap-on from 1980 MIG. Okay. That's probably similar to the one I had. Rick Aiden, how about Sublime or Sassy Grass Green? Yeah, yeah, that color is probably going to just be in the one I showed. The second one. Lime gold, I think is what they called it. Simone with very pale that yellow. Yeah, and it's not good. Dave Brennan, I'm buying the color, but there are plenty I like more. Yeah, that's why I am too. Troy, I never liked that color. We had a neighbor who had a coupe like that one. Yeah. I just, there was a reason why they only painted 900 of them that color. Just remember that rare does not always mean it's worth doing. So I'm not going to paint my car that color. Evan, my 67 was Pebble Beige, originally Acapulco Blue when I bought it. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, just to give you, this is a paint stick I had last week. So this is the Black Jade. I know it doesn't look like much there. That's the Black Jade color that is going to go on the Cobra Jet. Quite the difference. Dawn, Robert, yes, hard lesson. learn with my hobo freight MIG. Yeah, yeah. Dave Moeller. Hi, Barry. Patreon subscriber Dave Moeller here, joining the chat for the first time. I was wondering where you order your dynacorn parts from, since they don't sell to the general public. I have a dynacorn supplier, and so I can hook you up. I can hook you up with them. You know, send me a message on Patreon if you want, and we can go from there. Okay? And I appreciate your support. Glad you're here. Steve Willett, you can jack the frame extensions up if needed. You talking about the floor supports? Is that what you're saying? The floor supports? Steve says Lenko panel spotter. Yeah, that would be nice to have. Simone Berry, how would you approach the repair of the lower section of a fender at rocker level? Mine are rusted to the point where I need to guess how to shape the metal, and it is very thin. Okay, that's a good question. So I've done repair work on, like on a Mustang, on the 68, you could buy a patch panel. I'm sure you can't buy one for the car you're working on, or they may not offer it. So what you can do, and there's a variety of ways to try to replicate that piece. I don't know how much of it is left of that part. Some people, and I've seen people do this, they take tape and they'll make a shape of that, and they use it kind of as a template in a sort of. The problem is when you do that, it'll give you at least a length. Like you can make the tape follow, but the tricky part is how do you get the metal to look like that? Now these people that do it, they'll actually lay that tape out and kind of expand it and do a tracing and then rework it with like really high dollar tools. I don't have that. So a lot of times what I'll do is figure out what I have. So if I have this, let's say I have a curve, and then you got the flange on the front part. If it's just a basic curve, you can make those pieces independently, right? So if you take and you copy that curve piece, and then you take and you cut it to match the radius of the wheel well, then you make the piece that makes the flange. You can weld those two together, and now you've got a complex angle. You got a curve, and you've got the other curve of the wheel well opening. So just kind of look at it as in different planes. What can I make? So if you can make the one curve and then cut the arch, you can make the second piece that'll go into that arch and weld that together. So pretty simple way of kind of do that. James, that new line is definitely good. It definitely great representation of green, yellow, orange of the early 70s. Yeah. 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 Rusty had a 66 GT Fastback Sauterne Gold. Awesome color. I'll have to look that up. Oh. So he sent me a picture of it, I guess. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. That's that is kind of a gold. Let's see if I can pull that up. So here's the color he's talking about. It's got a greenish tint to it too. That's a cool looking car. I like it. Steve says Dynacorn has a storefront Dynacorn Auto Body Parts and Body Parts, 950 South A Street, Oxnard, California. Okay. So there's another angle you could use for Dave. And yeah, Steve was talking about the floor support. Okay. Don's Manufacturer says yes. I don't know how you say it. Sauterne gold is good. Steve also Ray Shellen's Pro Shaper Workshop. Oh, for tape patterns and metal shaping. Okay, there you go. So it's another avenue. Rusty says it's green gold. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Dave Moeller, thanks Barry. I will try to contact you through the Patreon site for the info. I'm not very tech savvy though, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet. Okay. Well, if you want to, you can also send me an email. We can go from there. So at the bottom of the page is my email, joedaddysgarage@gmail.com. So if you want to do that route, you can do that as well. Randy, I think some people take restoration too far. They try to duplicate runs on the firewall and the paint and try to duplicate scrapes from the factory assembly line. Yes, and I get it, but I don't, I guess. So when I say I get it, I understand what people are trying to do. But if it's been apart, if it's been reworked, if it's been repaired, it's not original anymore. So I get it though. People want to have it look like it was original. To me, it matters more if it's more of a special edition car than a basic car. Unless that car has some provenance, like it was used for this or it was in this thing or whatever. But to each their own, really. If they want to do that, that's fine. I'm not going to stop them. I'm not going to say don't do that. That's totally up to them. It's not something I'm going to do. I'm not even going to try. I just don't. I'm not even going to make that effort. Now, I know whenever I was working on Charles's on the Cobra Jet, Charles actually wanted me to do a lot of that. There were runs on his firewall. He wanted me to spray it and try to make runs, and I was like, I don't really know how to do that. I mean, I know how to make runs, but I really don't know how to replicate what they did. And it's almost like just because they did it wrong doesn't mean that it needs to be wrong today. But hey, to each their own. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. I don't fault them for that. It's their choice. But I'm just not really that person. Simone, thank you, Barry. I will study the panel tomorrow and see what I can do. I may have to cut more off than I expected. Good night. It's all 1 a.m. in the UK. So glad you're here, Simone. Troy says you could paint it white. White paint is cheaper, but you wouldn't be able to drive it after Labor Day. Yeah. Dave says, I live just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Oh, okay. Well, you might be able to go to the Pennsylvania distributor for dynacorn as well. Because there's one up in, they've got one in Pennsylvania / Ohio, and then they have one in California. So you may be able to go right to their distribution place. I'm not sure, though. But that could be an option. Michael says, Hookton Classics, check out Fitzy's fabrication. Yes, that would be a good choice. Gig'em says, Kevin Barth here. Good evening, Barry. Good evening, Kevin. And Simone says, thanks, Michael. And Dave says, Fitzy is great to watch. Yeah. Dawn, Rusty, that looks like medium sage. Betsy's OEM color. Randy, I just drove through Cleveland, Ohio on my way to Niagara Falls, and they got 6 feet of snow on my way back. 6 feet? No thanks. Yeah, I'm well past that point. Uh, I don't want to. I don't want to deal with the snow. Ah, Travis sent me a picture. I don't know if you wanted me to share that or not. He's got his uh, Joe Daddy's hat on, out on a boat with some friends. By the looks of it, I didn't know if you wanted me to share that or not. Okay. Um, yeah, as far as like we were talking about restoring cars and making them look like this or that and the other. There's, I again, I'm not that person, but I do appreciate the effort. There's a one guy who has that 69 or 70 Mustang that there's a video out there on YouTube where he talks about the grease marks and the uh, some of the neat things about it, like the brake backing plates on one side were made um, in one shop or something, and it had a number or something on it representing that shop, and then the other side was from another shop. So it wasn't like it was both made in the same place; they were from different places. So that was kind of a neat thing to see, uh, but I just haven't gotten into that stuff. Randy says, "I guess that's what I appreciate why I appreciate your channel, because you're trying to do what the factory intended to do, even if the factory wasn't able to do it." Well, thank you for that. That's a good. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Robert, the Queen is going to go to Cleveland for a few days next week. If it isn't too bad there, yes, her ringtone is still the Michigan fight song, and her phone rings every time in the airport for some odd reason. James, I saw online a guy restore a 67 coupe, then did a body wrap to protect the paint and made the wrap look like a rusty, faded junker. Said it's easier to grocery shop and drive it in public. That that would be interesting. That would be interesting. I have seen something. It was like old. What was it? It was like a Mustang that they like made it look like an old race car or something, and it had scuff marks on it, and it was all wrap, but it had scuff marks on it, rust on it. It was pretty cool looking. Rick says snow is a four-letter word. It is. You are accurate. Let's see, Dave Muller. I too am a fan of Fitzy. East of Cleveland got multiple feet of snow. Fortunately, we just got a dusting at our house. Yeah, I don't want any snow. I don't mind. And like if it snowed one day here and it was gone the next day, fine. That would be fantastic. Rusty, I made an order from Kentucky Mustang today, Cyber Monday. I met the owner this fall, and it might not be the cheapest, but I like to know who I'm dealing with. Nice guy. Okay, that's awesome. Dave Britton, a buddy has some crazy rare Mopars where the level of restoration would include the grease crayon marks. Yeah, yeah. Well, Mopar guys are out there anyway. Evan, okay, I have to go make progress on house projects, or I'll never get that car back. Cheers. All right, glad you're here, Evan. Jerry says, Robert, you know better than to me to that freaking team. Okay. Travis says, pick just for you. That's my wife and kids. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Travis. Looks like you're having a good time. Looks like you're having a good time. Okay. I think I'm at a point where I need to pull the plug. My voice is starting to feel rough, and it's about time for me to go. uh, Jerry says typing on this phone has been horrible. Sorry, yeah. Black GTX, I wouldn't want to be around Georgia drivers in the snow. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah, they're not good. They are not good. Yeah, I just don't even go anywhere. I know I can drive in the snow, but I'm not. I'm not going out. Okay, so it's been a good night, uh, and I do plan to obviously put out more videos, and of course I got to finish up this Durango project. Hopefully, I can just change the water pump gasket, and it'll take care of the antifreeze leak. It's always something, but that'll be it for tonight's show, and I will be back next week, next Monday at 7 o'clock, assuming all goes well and I'm still healthy by then. But that'll be it for tonight. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.